Welcome to Raregivers 2023. My name's Crystal Barrett O'Loughlin, and I am the founder and CEO of Angel Aid. I'm so excited to welcome our guest, Gina Glass, today, the Executive Director of Dreamsicle Kids. And in just a few moments, we'll bring Georgina into our conversation. We're going to be talking about her book, the tale of the cell, which I'm so excited to hear about. But just for a moment, I'd like to explain to you what Angel Aid is all about as an organization. We are a global nonprofit network. Our goal is to provide personal connection and emotional support to patients, to parents and caregivers, and all of the professionals that are working in rare, chronic, and complex disease communities. Again, we're here to end the feelings of isolation, the feelings of overwhelm, so that each of these individuals can experience daily compassion and relief. Our goal is to support 3.5 million Raregivers by 2026, and broadcasts like this, these little mobile devices and other connective tools are our pathway to reach families and professionals all over the world. So I'm so honored to be able to share with you our Raregivers Global Festival of Wellness. This is a month-long experience. This is a month of awareness building. It's a month of Angel Aid giving back to the community and saying, please come join us. Experience the gifts of wellness, meditations on Mondays, fitness experiences on Fridays. And then on Thursdays, we've been featuring various different caregivers, doing our Wellness Wednesdays. And on Tuesdays, we've been doing author talks. And that's what we're going to be featuring today is Georgina Glass, The Tale of the Cell. We'd also like to thank our sponsors and supporters. We have an amazing group of corporate sponsors from both inside and outside of the pharmaceutical industry. And we'd like to thank our patient advocacy partners from various different specific disease groups, as well as umbrella organizations like the National Organization of Rare Diseases. And in the bottom right, you might notice the purple. So the purple is exciting because the purple is an offering that we're going to be making to any donation that comes in during our October Give Month. And I'll explain that later in the broadcast, but I just wanted to point that out to you so that you know any donation you make is going to make a difference, and it's also going to enter you to win a purple calming companion, which was Time Magazine's Toy of the Year. Okay, so what we're challenged to address is a global community that's in crisis. They say that there are more than 10,000 different types of diseases that are classified as rare. And rare is not rare. The classification is less than 200,000 patients worldwide. And these are diseases that you've heard of. Diseases like cystic fibrosis, multiple sclerosis, Tay-Sachs disease. And in the case of what we're going to feature today, the sickle cell disease community, right? More rare diseases impact people than cancer and AIDS combined. This is a massive community. More than 350 million people are grappling with the realities of rare diseases. And the challenge is this: there are zero cures for any rare diseases. We have about treatments for about 5% of the community, but the vast majority is living with the realities, these unimaginable realities of caregiving, in some cases palliative caregiving. And we call this empathy math. It's not a hard equation. If you've got 350 million patients and caregivers times zero cures, you've got a global mental health crisis on your hands. And it's partnering with people and organizations that are helping to bring relief. We know it's a fundamental human right to have good health and well-being. And we reflect back what the United Nations views as the confluence between physical health and emotional well-being. that is the whole person, that's the whole family experience. So good health and well-being are hand in hand, and that's what we provide at Angel Aid. Our Rare Givers program has been delivered all over the world. We have just over 15,000 patients and caregivers that are being exposed regularly to our wellness training. We have 22 active psychologists and health and wellness practitioners working within our community. We are a grassroots peer-to-peer support community, and so those leaders are helping the community learn how to support itself. And then we've provided over 21,000 hours of wellness training, thanks to your donations and your support over the years. Our role is not to fix every emotional state. Our role is to provide a safe place and an emotionally open place for people to share their lived experience, their shared experience called rare giving. So rare givers are the caregivers, the patients, and the professionals in rare and chronic disease communities. And anytime life gets medical, it feels like you're on this island, right? And once you're on this island, you're going through the healthcare system. And while you're going through that, you're going through your own emotional ups and downs, these sort of cycles of hope and grief. And in so many cases, there is an end of life experience or the worry of an end of life experience. And all of the emotions around that are what we seek to address. We seek to witness and support our community, help them find meaning through these experiences, and help them find relief through all of these sort of ancient arts of mindfulness and self-care, nutrition, sleep, and other encouraging approaches. And again, thank you to our sponsors for this work. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce a woman that has become just a very, very dear friend of mine. I met Gina Glass at a health equity summit, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, but she is just a powerhouse, not only in rare disease, but also in just the community in general, and specifically the sickle cell community. So welcome, Gina. I know
Thank
you're,
you. Thank you.
look at you, there you are. Oh my gosh, I'm sending you a
Hey, virtual
virtual
hug.
hug.
Feel like we just saw each other, right?
We did. We were both attending a conference in Washington, D.C., and it's just so good to see you again. Have so much respect for the work that you do. So,
Thank
um,
you.
so let's pause for a moment and talk about that. So we want to hear all about your book, and then your book is in this broader context of both your professional and your private or personal experience. And so introduce yourself to our audience so we know a little bit more about you.
Okay, so I am Georgianae Gina Glass. I am the founder and executive director of Dream Sickle Kids Foundation, which is the first sickle cell disease organization here in the state of Nevada. I am a mother of two, and my youngest daughter, Gia, has sickle cell disease.
Oh my goodness. And Gia is, how old is she now? I met her at
She was
8.
like,
Oh my.
yeah, she was like maybe barely 6.
Oh gosh, and got to see her mother, Gina, up on stage being honored as the rare champion of hope in Chicago. That was so exciting.
No,
So,
Philadelphia. We were in Philadelphia.
is that where we were? Okay, I'm glad you remember. What city? It's all a blur. It's all,
Right.
yeah, no. And you were being honored as a rare champion of hope for the work that you've been doing in rare disease. So can you talk about that? What's your focus these days?
So with Gia being born with sickle cell, it launched my career, I guess, or I pivoted from insurance into sickle cell advocacy. So learning everything I could about sickle cell, and we moved from California to Nevada and we saw a need for support for the patients, the children, and the caregivers impacted by sickle cell disease. So that's what Dream Sickle, that's where it was born as. Being a caregiver, the experience that I had with navigating the healthcare system and just understanding the disease, it was quite challenging because I didn't have that support. I didn't really have people that I could lean on because it is rare like other disease. So there's not a lot of people who have it who can relate. So we formed our organization to be that support to the families and the caregivers that are impacted by sickle cell disease.
Amazing, amazing. And at some point you decided to author a book. What was your journey leading up to that point?
So it was crazy. So in 2018, I decided I wanted to write a book so that Gia, I always wanted her to be, confident and not be ashamed of her illness. And along the way in advocacy, I met a lot of different patients with sickle cell that said, when they were younger, they hid it from people. And some of them still, as adults working, going to school, they still aren't really forthcoming with their illness. So when Gia was about 2, when she was, when they're learning their name, I made her learn her name and also learn that she had sickle cell. So when she would introduce herself to people, she'd say, "Hi, I'm Gia and I have sickle cell," because I didn't want her to think that it was something that she had to hide. So I looked around, I was looking for different, kids' books to start sharing with her, and so she can better understand her illness. And I found some, but not many. And I've always liked to write. So I was like, why don't I write a book? So I opened up my computer and made a PowerPoint and started writing this book. I didn't have a name for it or anything, but I wanted to write this book. So, and I wanted to explain how you inherit sickle cell disease, because when we see it, it's always like stick figures. There's not really a person attached to it. So I felt like it was kind of impersonal because it's just a little stick figure, like this person, if this mom has the trait, dad has the trait, the baby has sickle cell. So I decided I was going to make it more realistic and really use people to show like how inheriting sickle cell looks. So I use myself as the mom, and then Tupac, the rapper Tupac, is like my favorite rapper of all times. May he rest in peace. But I used him as the dad in my little outline that I was making to show how you inherit sickle cell disease. So I thought that was funny. So I wrote this book. It probably took me about 2 days to actually do it on my computer on the PowerPoint to write it, but I didn't actually move to actually have it published for 2 years. So it was just something that was in between trying to get the organization up and going, like, oh, I wrote this book. Oh, I'll bother that later. And then the pandemic happened, so there was like really nothing to do. So I went back to the book and I was like, well, there's really nothing to do. Like maybe I should, think about publishing this. Maybe I'll find an illustrator. So first I wanted to find an illustrator. Started looking to find an illustrator. Then I just happened to see someone on my Facebook who they were publishers. They had a publishing company and they provided the illustrator. And then when I looked more, I had saw that they had actually illustrated and published a sickle cell children's book before. So I said, well, let me reach out to them. And then I'm like, I thought it cost so much to like write books, right? Like it was so much money. And I'm sure it kind of is depending on what you're writing. But when I talked to him and he told me, I was like, I think I might be able to do that. So I just went ahead and gave it to him and let him illustrate and publish the book.
Wow, what a gift. And where can people buy the book? If
So the book is available on Amazon. Amazon is the fastest. Through our website, we also sell the book, but that's if you want to get it autographed by us before you receive it. Otherwise, if you want a quick delivery, just hop on Amazon.
and type in the tale of the
The Tale
cell.
of the Sale. Mm-hmm.
Okay, CELL.
Yeah,
And also, what is your URL for your website? So if people wanted to get an autograph copy, they could do that.
it is dreamsicklekids.org. So www.dream, sickle, sickle.org.
Okay, that's so good. Okay, I just like to provide those very specific details for those that want to pull it through. So I think if you're watching this broadcast, you're probably getting a sense of how Gina operates in the world. Like she is just get it done, sort of individual. So Gina, what is your vision for Dreamsicle Kids? What communities do you hope to support and help in the future?
My vision for the future in 2020, we also so after going to different rare disease events and things like that and meeting people from other rare communities, I begin to see that some of our stories are quite similar. Our challenges are quite similar and our triumphs are similar. So being in Nevada, I believe there is one organization specifically for rare disease, but I felt like maybe I should be represent and advocate for not just sickle cell, which is one of 10,000 rare diseases, but for all people here in Nevada that are impacted by a rare disease. So my vision is to be able to have more focus and support a lot more rare diseases. It's kind of like when I meet people here that may have another rare disease, I just add it to the list like, okay, we're supporting them too. So that's how I go about doing it. I can't realistically, maybe in another life, or maybe that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to support all 10,000. But when I meet people who have a rare disease I never heard of, I just put it on the list like, okay, that's another one we're going to support. So when somebody reaches out, if they say they have that, we're like, yeah, we do. So
Amazing.
that's definitely the goal, is to continue to advocate and support and highlight sickle cell and amplify the voices of people impacted by sickle cell, but also those impacted by any rare disease.
Yes, yes. And we talked about this, and at one point it became very clear that your vision was aligned with what we're doing at Angel Aid, that our
Right,
vision is to support the emotional well-being of
right,
all rare disease families. And so
right.
thank you very much for joining our board. We were
Thank
so
you for having me.
we were so honored to have you on the board and have the benefit of your skill set, particularly in the operations of nonprofit and grant writing and sort of this world that we live in, but also your lived experience as a mother,
Yeah,
as a caregiver, as a provider in the rare disease space. We're so lucky to have that perspective.
thank you. Thank you. I think that's so important because us caregivers can, um, I mean, the world might forget about us, but even we forget about ourselves because we're so focused on caring for our loved ones with rare diseases. So it's like, with Angel Aid, you guys bring it back like, hey, you guys are important too. Like, you have to take care of yourselves too, so that you can keep taking care of your rare loved ones. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that, like I said, we connected at the heart from the very beginning,
Yes.
and there are some genetic roots to sickle cell. It does impact specific communities. Could you talk a little bit about that, and also the relief services that you're bringing through your organization?
Sure. Yeah. So sickle cell does primarily affect people of African descent, but also those like in tropical regions, so Middle Eastern, Asian, Greek, Italian. They can also be affected by sickle cell disease. Pretty much anyone, but those are where there's the most prevalence of sickle cell disease. Behind African Americans, Hispanics also have a high prevalence of sickle cell disease. And then also globally, aside from Africa, people in India also have a very high prevalence of sickle cell disease as well. And so with Dream Sickle Kids, our goal is to directly support the family unit. So the patient and the family directed. There's a lot of agencies and organizations who support, a lot of different things, but we literally want to support the patient directly. So if that patient needs help with rent, if that patient has a utility that's behind that needs to get paid, they were in the hospital or off work because of their illness, if they have co-payments, that if they need to get to a doctor's appointment. Those are things that we realistically want to support people with. We help parents who have children with sickle cell disease. We help them with creating their 504 plan for the accommodations in school or their IEP. We're community health workers. I'm a community health worker, so we go directly into the clinic and connect with the patients to share our resources and share how we can support them directly. We're supporting the healthcare providers that are providing the care for the patients. I'm sure a lot of, healthcare providers want to and wish they had more time in the day, but they can't, remind those patients, more than once through their automated system that they have an appointment come up, where we'll text them, we'll FaceTime them, we'll message them on Instagram or Facebook and say, hey, do you remember this appointment you have tomorrow? Do you need a ride? Do we need to come pick you up? Those are things that we'll do that, your healthcare provider can't do for various reasons. We'll do those things just to make sure that that patient is getting the care that they need and the care they deserve.
Beautiful. That's so hands-on, very
Yes.
high touch, side-by-side support. And one of the ways that Gina and I got to know each other so well was actually Gina participating in our wellness retreat and
Yes.
saying, you know what, we need more of this, not just for foundation leaders such as myself and who
Right.
are serving so many, but just having you participate that and then joining the Raregivers Coalition and helping us amplify and raise money, which is what this is
Of
all
course,
about.
that's the most important thing, right?
So what I'd like for our community to see is that every donation that you make is actually in support of a single person that is just
Right. A
powerhouse of
real person.
a real person, Gina Glass here, and then out, and then it just amplifying that support in her
Right.
community in Nevada. So
Exactly.
any final thoughts, Gina, before I turn over to our final appeal?
No, I just want to thank you. I want to thank Raregivers and let everybody know when you support Angel Aid and and they support Raregivers like myself, it doesn't stop with me. Because of the support that I receive from Raregivers, and I'm able to be, emotionally charged, mentally, emotionally charged, so that I can go out and I can help other people as well. So you're helping someone directly, but then indirectly you're helping a lot of people when you support Angel Aid.
Thank you, Gina. You honor us with your presence today, and you honor your daughters and your community with the work that you do every single day. So thank you so much.
Of
Okay.
course, of course.
Good. Okay. So you know where to go, dreamsicklekids.org and Amazon for The Tale of the Cell. So we will see you again, Gina, and I'm going to go ahead and just share a couple of things now for the next few minutes on what we do within the Angel Aid Network. There is a deep purpose to the work that we do. The original Raregivers were Richard and Phyllis Barrett, my parents. They met in high school. He was captain of the football team. She was head drill team leader, and they wanted a big family. So they got married at 19. They had 5 children within 8 years. What they didn't know is that three of my middle brothers, so not my oldest brother Richard or myself, but three of my middle brothers had a rare genetic disease called Hunter syndrome. And Randy, David, and Jared passed away in the 1980s. The stress of the caregiving was profound. So much so that my parents divorced in 1975, and all the difficult things that can happen to a family, um, alcohol abuse, gambling, other escape mechanisms. You know, when you're witnessing the passing of your children, it's such an unnatural state of the world. And those challenges are what actually helped sensitize my brother and I. And I will tell you a very happy ending to this story, but I wanted to be real with you on what the challenges can be in these kind of unimaginable experiences of caregiving. And what I can say or share with you after spending a lifetime reflecting on why all this pain is that really suffering, and all of us experience suffering in various ways, but suffering is what marinates your heart. It's what sows the seeds of empathy. It's what allows you to see the pain and suffering in another human being. And we've all experienced that because of the pandemic. We experienced isolation, disruptions in home and work life, the medical uncertainty that rare families live with every day. So that's why we formed Raregivers. It is a coalition of support from various different organizations, including Dreamsicle Kids. And the donations that you make today, if you are within the Microsoft community, please donate via Benevity at aka.ms/AngelAid, and your donations will be matched. If you are donating outside of AngelAid, please go to, Microsoft, please go to angelaidcares.org/give, and your donations will be matched by the Tuttle Click Automotive Group up to $25,000. So thank you so much to our corporate sponsors for helping stretch all of these grant dollars. So think about it, you double your donation, and if you're Microsoft, actually quadruple your donation because you get the Microsoft match and the Tuttle Click match. These sponsors and supporters that I keep mentioning are just so important to the work that we do. They provide the continuity. And I mentioned the Purble. So the thing about the Purble is this little person, little guy, little gal, depending on what gender you want to associate. The Purble is the Time Magazine Best Invention of 2021. This is a calming companion. And for every donation we receive during October Give Month of 2023, you will be entered to win a Purble at the end of the month. So we're super excited about that. Just make your donations either through Benevity, if you're a Microsoft employee, or at the AngelAid website. We just would like to say thank you to all the volunteers and donors who make our work possible. We could not have grown into the size of the community that we are without your support. And in fact, your support last year funded our very first Spanish-speaking wellness retreat outside of Mexico City, our first program for caregivers in Australia, in specifically the community of epilepsy, and our very first men's retreat here at Barrett Family Ranch in Southern California this year. So every donation is making a huge difference. We hope that you enjoyed angelaidcares.org Global Festival of Wellness. And I will just give you that happy ending I promised you. You know, Richard and Phyllis married in 1963, and they had very difficult circumstances throughout their lifetime, losing 3 children. They each remarried again, divorced again. They each remarried a third time, long-term marriages, very healing marriages, but both of those marriages ended in widowhood. They widowed within a year of each other, the same year that our daughter was born, Chloe. And that beautiful happening brought the two of them back together, the birth of their granddaughter and this history of difficulty helped find forgiveness, helped them find their deep empathetic spirit and their 60 years of love. So 60 years later, they remarried again in 2023. Just thought I would share that little story with you as a way to encourage love and forgiveness in your own life where you can find it. We are now a global community of Raregivers, and we invite you to support our work with a donation today. Thank you very much, and we will see you in the next broadcast.